And a very warm welcome to World Travel Market 2015. My name is Kate Rebeth. I'm Head of Marketing for the World Travel Market portfolio of events. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the launch of the World Travel Market 2015 Industry Report. This is the 6th World Travel Market Industry Report. You'll see the covers of our other 5 up there on the slides. The report was launched at World Travel Market 2010 and has grown in popularity ever since. It's a unique report where we've polled more than 2,000 WTM stakeholders, and that includes exhibitors, buyers from the World Travel Market Buyers Club, and visitors, and offers a true reflection of opinions at the top of the global industry. It means the report's findings and conclusions reflect the opportunities and challenges facing the industry and will mirror the conversations that are happening on the show floor over the course of the next 4 days. Furthermore, these findings were supported by a result of more than 1,000 UK holidaymakers, all of whom have taken a holiday of more than 7 nights or more this year, meaning the World Travel Market 2015 Industry Report reflects, compares and contrasts the thoughts of both holidaymakers and the industry alike. I'll now hand over to BBC's journalist Stephen Sacker, who will present the report's findings, and at the end of the presentation there'll be a question and answer session with our panel of WTM London experts and industry experts as well. So I'll hand over to Stephen.
Great. Kate, thank you very much indeed. Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see every single chair filled. Thank you for coming so bright and early, and well done for getting through the London fog. You passed the first test of WTM 2015. Well done. Just a health warning. You're going to hear my voice droning on and on for the next few minutes because I'm going to talk you through some fascinating slides. The good news for you is you've got the slides and the whizzy graphics to look at. You don't just have to listen to me. But the even better news is that there are going to be lots of issues raised that might prompt questions from you to a panel of experts whom we have lined up to field questions from the content of the report, both from me and, I'm happy to say, from you guys too. So we've got roving microphones and we're going to take questions. So let's get through the report and then we'll get to the questions. There are 7 chapters in this year's report. The range of topics is outlined there, as you can see. Starts with industry outlook. We consider the new emerging destinations, or the destinations that seem to be most powerful in terms of emerging destinations right now. We look at responsible tourism. We're going to look at sports tourism, the aviation sector, booking trends, and UK holidaymakers' experiences. So we've got all of that to pack in over the next few minutes. So let's get on with it. So the report illustrates the optimism. Never mind what we all see and hear about all the problems in the world. There is optimism in the travel industry. 4 out of 10 WTM participants expecting to agree business deals of greater value at WTM 2015 than they did last year. About 40, well, pretty much half, thought that the business levels would be about the same, and only 10% are born pessimists and think that actually there's going to be less business done. Now, last year, that added up to £2.5 billion worth of industry deals, so we're expecting that figure will be higher this year. Here's a couple of amazing stats, which I can barely believe, but according to this, more than 50,000 senior industry executives will be taking part in more than, get this, 1.1 million business meetings in and around WTM over the next 4 days. How can we prove there are 1.1 million business meetings taking place? It's a great question. I can't answer it, but maybe one of our panel can. Anyway, let's move on to this next slide. Where am I? Oh, here I am. 2015 will see more than 1.1 billion trips take place globally, with the industry executives believing travel will grow even more in 2016. Pretty much 80% say the tourism business will grow in 2016. 1 in 5 seeing significant increases in the global travel and tourism industry growth. 54% forecast that their own business will grow next year. So essentially, the message is there's an awful lot of optimism out there. Now, somewhat at odds with all of that sort of rose-tinted stuff, it would appear that fewer Brits took a holiday in 2015 than in 2014. 6 out of 10 Brits took a holiday of 7 days or more. Now that compares, last year the figure was around 70%, so a significant drop. The WTM Industry Report this year asked 1,700 people to get to just over 1,000 holidaymakers. The ratio was higher last year, that is 1,400 people were asked to get just over 1,000 holidaymakers. So that is essentially telling you that in this survey, it seems around 4 out of 10 Britons didn't take a holiday in 2015. So the next chapter in the industry report looks at emerging travel and tourism destinations. China comes out as a clear winner. More than 1 in 2 holidaymakers have expressed an interest in visiting China. About 20%, just under 20%, say they are very interested. The UK government has, as you may know, sealed deals to boost tourism links with China, promote Britain in China. So there's a lot going on, particularly right now, between UK and China. The industry is anticipating increased business with regard to China. 2/3 of industry leaders predicting increased business next year. 28% predicting a significant increase. Another country that appears to be on the move in terms of pushing itself as a destination is Mexico. They're celebrating a big sort of push in the UK this year. Lots of cultural exchanges, tourism industries connecting up. It would appear that it's working. 1 in 2 holidaymakers have expressed an interest in visiting Mexico. 14% very interested. I don't know if there are any Formula One fans here, but you may know yesterday Mexico City hosted the Grand Prix, the Formula One race. Apparently today, I haven't been invited, but they're doing a glitzy premiere of Spectre, the new James Bond film in Mexico City. They're basically finding lots of different ways to promote themselves, and it appears to be paying off. Now here's an interesting one, particularly for a journalist like me. Iran is in different ways pursuing it seems a more sort of open policy. Of course, we've got all the diplomatic moves, including the agreement of a nuclear deal with the Western powers and Russia. But that's politics. In terms of holidays and tourism, WTM this year is hosting the largest delegation ever of Iranian exhibitors. 1 in 6 UK holidaymakers are interested in visiting the country. These numbers always fascinate me. I mean, I guess that means 5 in 6 are adamant that they've no interest at all in visiting Iran. But anyway, let's take it positively. 1 in 6 say, you know what, I wouldn't mind. So, yeah, there is an interest in Iran. And here's the thing. Iran boasts 17 World Heritage Sites. Who knew? And 19 ski resorts. So look out, you know, Samoritz and Courchevel, Iran's coming. Right, well that's Iran. Let's see now what's happening when it comes to all of the issues around responsible tourism, sustainability, the climate change challenge. This is the 3rd chapter, in essence, of the industry report. Now, you may know, I certainly know, because I've been quite involved with it, that for more than a decade now, WTM has made a big point of championing a World Responsible Tourism Day. It's always on the Wednesday of WTM. It's happening again this year, and it is a very important part of what happens here in London. More than 8 out of 10 senior industry professionals say the environment is really important to their organisation. 38% say it's actually very, very important. Goodness. Yeah, they're very keen. More than 1 in 2 of UK holidaymakers, and this is important, they actually now feel the same way, that it's important when they're booking a holiday to think about that. 4 out of 10 industry executives believe that this sector, this industry, travel and tourism, is outperforming other industries when it comes to committing to reducing emissions and to meeting climate change targets, and we'll talk maybe more about that. UK holidaymakers say and appear to want to experience sustainable holidays. 60% say they are environmentally aware when they are taking their break, their vacation. This year's World Responsible Tourism Day focuses on carbon reduction because we're all mindful that the big Paris Global Summit trying to nail down a global emissions reduction deal, that's coming up at the end of this month and beginning of next month. And that's obviously the context in which this business, this industry is also considering the climate change challenge. Now it says here, despite UK holidaymakers' apparent commitment to the environment, only 4% actually offset their flights. You know, we can all now choose to offset the emissions involved in our flights, but only 4% do that. And 3/4 have no interest in doing that on any flight they take. However, 3 out of 10 say they would be willing to spend more money in order to reduce the environmental impact of their holidays. This is interesting. I don't know how many of you have been following this particular story within the industry, but some destinations feel so pressurized now by the numbers of visitors that they are introducing the idea of caps. That is, capping the number of tourists that they can take at any one time or over a given year. The fear is that some destinations are simply being overwhelmed, and it's very bad for both the local community and the local environment. The travel and tourism industry seems to be backing moves like this. Nearly 2/3, 65%, agree with the statement that tourism caps are a practical solution to the problems of overcrowding. Only 17% actively disagreed. Now, the destinations we're talking about include Barcelona, the Canary Islands. However, the majority think that, the majority of people seem to be quite into this idea. The industry is divided about whether it works in practice. When asked whether caps would be a good thing for their own city or company or destination, about 1/3 agreed and 1/3 disagreed. So it's quite controversial. Sports tourism, we've talked about this before in the industry report. It's still a big deal. The industry believes recent and future major sporting events will have a positive effect on the particular destination's tourism industries, with 84% predicting a rise in visitor numbers for countries that currently are looking forward to big events. That is obviously Brazil, with the Olympics coming up, and France, which has next year's European Football Championships. Rio, I guess, is the big story in terms of sporting events. They've got the Olympics and the Paralympics. 6 out of 10 industry professionals are predicting a rise in visitors to Brazil. France, as I said, has got the Football European Championships. That is deemed to be likely to host or see a rise in tourism numbers by 43% of industry professionals. But here's a twist. 2/3 of the industry didn't feel that the Rugby World Cup, I should say. I don't know if many of you have been watching it. It's been an extraordinary, fantastic sporting event here, but most industry specialists felt that it wouldn't actually boost tourism in the UK very much. Now, going back a little bit, London 2012 unquestionably was a big deal for UK tourism. In 2013, the year after, the UK welcomed pretty much 33 million overseas visitors. That was up from 31 million, so that's about a 6-7% rise over the previous year. And a lot of people are ascribing that to the Olympics effect, because in 2011 the number was 30 million. So you can see the numbers have been rising, and people are connecting that to the spin-offs from the London Olympics. However, it may be that the success of London 2012 was an exception. because when UK holidaymakers were asked what impact major sporting events in the future would have on the host destination and on their willingness to go there, actually there was a lot of negativity. And funnily enough, the most negative score was for the Qatar 2022 Football World Cup, which had a net negative of minus 22% of people thinking it would make them more likely to visit the destination. So Qatar's got some work to do. And frankly, FIFA's got plenty of work to do as well, but that's another story. Anyway, aviation. This is chapter 5 of our report this year. And the big call here is that this is, the big trend is the rise of no-frills long haul. Those who are looking for cheaper long-haul flights, well, they may be in luck. 8 out of 10 senior trade executives are tipping low-cost transatlantic and worldwide flights to really take off. They should be punished for that pun. 41% said this was very likely, 42% quite likely. So strong feeling that long-haul, low-cost is really in our futures. There are lots of examples of excuse me, businesses trying to kick this off. You've got Iceland's WOW Air that's going to set up a UK to Canada route in May 2016 with one-way fares of 99 quid. They're already, I think they've already started doing Gatwick to Boston and Washington. The Norwegians are getting in on this act. The Germany's Condor, Paris-based XL Air. You know, there are lots of airlines now looking at really attacking price on long-haul routes, particularly transatlantic. So that is a trend that the sector sees continuing. Here's some interesting stats for you. Who wants to have somebody sitting next to them gassing away on the telephone throughout a transatlantic flight? Well, probably not so many of us, but nonetheless, it's coming. US airlines already experimenting with Wi-Fi on planes. European carriers are going to follow suit. Lufthansa's signing a deal to allow passengers to use their handsets on board in flight next summer. BA is expected to follow suit. Now, more than half of UK holidaymakers support Wi-Fi being available on planes, but they don't want people on their flight making calls. You know, they're worried about the prevalence of WhatsApp and all of that stuff. So, you know, it used to be impossible to get a signal at 33,000 feet. That's going to change very quickly. But it's an interesting stat here. Fewer than 1 in 5 of UK holidaymakers want to see phone calls on planes introduced. And roughly 2/3 of travel industry executives agree with that caution. Booking trends. Excuse me. The 6th chapter in the report is all about booking trends. 9 out of 10 UK holidaymakers, here's no surprise, think affordability is a key influence when deciding whether to book a holiday. Just over half say affordability very, very important. And UK holidaymakers aren't fools. They're very aware of currency exchange rates, and that does influence at least 60% of holidaymakers in where they go. They do look very carefully at the value that comes with particular exchange rate fluctuations. Maybe Egypt, Turkey, those sorts of countries have been very cheap of late. Can't talk about booking trends, excuse me, without talking about peer-to-peer. We've talked before about the growing influence of Airbnb and HomeAway and all these websites. Get this, Airbnb expected to facilitate more than 80 million room nights this year. That's double 2014. Airbnb has 1.5 million listings, 34,000 cities, 190 countries. Of course, there are crazy valuations on these sort of internet business ventures. Airbnb is valued, if you look at what venture capital is saying about it, at $25 billion, not million, $billion. And that is pretty much 4 times what the market is valuing the Hyatt Hotels Group at. Makes you wonder. I mean, I'm not sure I'd be buying shares in Airbnb. I think I've missed that boat. However, according to the 2015 industry report, the peer-to-peer accommodation websites have had little impact on the traditional industry. Only a quarter of senior industry execs say the sharing economy's had a negative impact. Only 6% of those saying the negative impact's been significant. And 6 out of 10 say that there's been no impact at all. And 16% of the traditional industry execs saying that actually the peer-to-peer trend and the internet have had a positive impact on their business. So let's look at the UK in particular. Funnily enough, the UK, that we're not early adopters, we're not even sort of adopters at all in many cases. Only 3% of UK holidaymakers have used peer-to-peer sites to book travel. The vast majority say that of those who, tiny minority who actually do use peer-to-peer, but then again, the vast majority that have used it say they would use it again. 97% of those who've got into peer-to-peer booking say they love it and they would do it again. So that does suggest there's a big word of mouth thing that can move the figures much, much higher. 4 out of 10 who haven't used it do say now that they're considering it in the future. The findings of a recent survey, and this is in the report, say that only roughly 1 in 5 of British consumers have heard of Airbnb. Where have we all been? But anyway, I guess that's good news for Airbnb in the sense that that's still a massive untapped market that they obviously hope to get into. Now, there's all sorts going on the internet, which is of great relevance to the sector, to the travel and tourism industry. There are 152 million blogs on the internet. I don't suppose anybody on the planet reads them all. And a new blog is being launched every half a second, apparently. Travel blogging is a really big deal. WTM hosts 500 bloggers. Maybe, hands up, who's blogging this event? Oh yeah, quite a few of you. Excellent. I promise not to read any of them. Just to be impartial, you understand. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to read them all. Anyway, you lot keep on blogging. Give this particular rundown on the report a very good 5-star rating, please. Blogging is important, and it does create a sort of, a lot of mood music around the industry. However, it appears the industry and UK holidaymakers haven't yet realized the full potential of the blogging community. WTM's report shows only 16% of organizations work with bloggers, while 92% of holidaymakers do not refer to blogs when researching and booking holidays. So again, you guys out there blogging, you've got a great untapped market. Right, holiday makers' experiences. This is chapter number 7 of the industry report. And by the way, I should say, when I've finished droning on and this event comes to a conclusion, the industry report is going to be handed out and available to everybody on the way out. So you're going to get to see this for yourselves. But anyway, chapter number 7 looks at the experiences of UK holidaymakers. It actually starts with a fairly sort of uncomfortable notion that security fears are very much front and center. Terrorist attacks, the biggest fear for UK holidaymakers this last summer. 4 in 10 people said that they were unable to fully relax on holiday following the horrible Tunisia beach attack in June, which I'm sure you remember, in which more than 30 British tourists were killed. 22% said they were very concerned, 18% quite concerned, and 6 out of 10 of those who did a staycation, who stayed in the UK, said that fear of terrorism was an important factor in their decision. So basically you've got a top 3 factors for staying in the UK: affordability, weather, although frankly I just saw that as more of a push factor than a pull factor. Anyway, But affordability, weather, and then security. So security is really up there now as a big, big factor when people are thinking, do I want to go abroad or not? And of course, you know, we've all been watching over the last 24 hours the grim pictures from Sharm el-Sheikh of the Russian airliner that came down, and nobody knows whether or not that could have had any connection to terrorism, but, you know, it plants ideas in people's minds. And then, of course, the other final thing on security, we've all seen, again, the just heart-wrenching pictures of the migration of people from Syria and elsewhere coming into Europe, often through the Greek islands and tourist destinations. And a third of people are concerned by the idea of the insecurity that comes with that migration. And they're also concerned with the general political instability that they see in many parts of the world. Right, here's a bit of fun. Who hates being surrounded by people taking selfies? That would be probably all of us. No selfies in here, please. Oh, people have got their cameras out, yeah. Anyway, the point is, UK holidaymakers love a snap, and they love taking pictures and then boasting to their friends about what a brilliant holiday they're having on social media. 4 in 10 admit to being selfie takers, which means probably 6 out of 10 are liars. However, the trend at major tourist destinations is to ban selfie sticks. There you go. We've even got a special selfie stick no-go sign. 2/3 of the industry's senior execs believe that the use of selfies needs to be more closely monitored. It's amazing what they choose to worry about, isn't it, senior execs? Anyway, selfies, there's something we might talk about. So you can see, ladies and gents, that there's an awful lot to talk about, some of it very serious, some of it not quite so serious. I hope that's given you an idea of what the trends are and where the momentum is in the travel business this year. But to unpick it a bit further, and indeed to take your questions, we've got a wonderful panel of 4. So let me invite to the stage right now